Hey.
You're.
But also, hey.
You're. Hey, Maryland's here.
Yikes. It's like a full 60 seconds behind. I gotta not look at that.
Oh yeah, definitely not. You don't want to do that. It's so weird because you can see both of us at the same time now. So it's like it used to be one of us saw the other.
Right.
Are you gonna start the show?
What? Oh, we're doing a show? Oh, okay. Sorry.
Oh,
I was
okay.
over here daydreaming about my basketball team. All right. Dear everybody, thank you for tuning in and talking loud and saying nothing. It's the only advice show that has ever existed on this planet. Now, I understand with everything going on in the world that people are looking for other planets and probably have already found some. I think there's like one or two, something about an Aunt Sally. I don't know. But don't bother looking any of that up. This is an advice show where you ask your questions, we answer those questions, and you're very happy that all of that happened. So, you know, definitely always appreciate everybody tuning in. Before we get started, though, before we get into the advice questions, we like to do a quick review of kind of what's been going on this week in terms of pop culture. I think we probably need to talk about politics a little bit this go around. Mr. O.S. Big Ron, how do you think we should start? I've got some ideas, but I know there's an elephant in this room.
Okay, so there's a couple of elephants in this room if you think about it.
There's not enough room for that many elephants.
There's like so many. There's so much elephant. There's more. It's more awkward that we're in a room that there's elephants in it than there's it's like there's not enough room for all these elephants.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit about last time. We talked about Trump and what he's doing to the post office, and there seems to be a big uproar about that and what that means, what that looks like, all of that. And in the meantime, the post office is happening and all that. Trump's continuing to do that. Maryland says I sound far away. What you mean I sound far away? You sound far away.
You do a little bit, yeah.
All right, talk. Let me fix my mic.
So as a segue to what you were about to say,
yeah.
So I have a real segue, but I want to wait because I want to actually talk about it, and I don't want to derail this so far away, which this could happen. That could happen.
All right. Well, tell me about your basketball team.
Oh, my basketball team. So for everybody who's not familiar, I am actually on a basketball team. We sell assorted goods by the side of the road out of milk crates. We are always just short of getting enough money for uniforms. But good news. We did not get new uniforms, but we did get new crates. So the random items that we'd be selling on the side of the road will actually come out of shiny new crates, which is really fun. We actually were sitting on them, and they're pretty sturdy.
Check.
Excuse
Is
me?
that better?
I don't. Yeah, keep talking. Continue.
It's Big Ron. I'm on the mic. Here I am. Do I sound better? Do I still sound far away?
No, but it sounds good, but it sounds like slightly more distorted than normal. I think whatever you did, undo that.
Too much of it.
And just move the mic closer.
Check.
This is all part of the show, by the way. This is the
check.
This is the.
Is that better?
Yeah. I think so.
All right. Well, you guys are all trash, and I don't want to work with any of you anymore.
Okay. Well, that checks out because I just play basketball. So.
All right. So as I was saying,
please.
As I was saying,
save us.
Just in time for what's his name? Trump to get rid of the Postal Service. Joe Biden comes along and says, hey guys, I'm Joe Biden. And guess what I did? And what did Joe Biden do? He picked a running mate. None other than Ms. Kamala Harris, former presidential candidate, Senator Kamala Harris, senator from California. And yeah, so she is now the candidate, and the reactions have been wildly disparate. So you got a bunch of people that, like, I'm watching this and it almost made me think that people have amnesia as to what happened 5 years ago. I mean 4 years, 4 years ago. Yeah. Because it's like when Hillary became the nominee in 2016, I was like, oh great, so we about to win. This Trump thing is over. I'm like, because clearly we can't vote for this madman. And
right. Who's never held a political office at all ever in his life.
Not once. And
I don't understand how he's even eligible, but by all means continue.
No, that's it. That's the end. So basically, it looks like we're having a lot of the same reactions that we're having right now about, we're having a lot of the same reactions right now that we had about Hillary 4 years ago. So here we are in this weird Twilight Zone, and then all of the same racist things happening. They immediately started a birther campaign, like, oh no, she wasn't born here. And I'm like, oh, so are we just going to do this for all Black people, or?
Sadly, I think the first time it was like, we're just going to try and see what works out.
Yeah.
This time I feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? They're just copy and pasting.
Yeah.
Just whatever tactic they were using it before, they're going to use again. But I'm not, go ahead.
But it's weird
too, because with the Republicans.
Well, and that's my thing. I feel like more than just Republicans, I'm like, now you have the guy who was doing the birther movement is now the president. He is the president of the United States. He's the president of the United States. And he's still leading a new birther movement. He even questioned as to whether Oakland was a part of the United States. Like, what do you...
Like, based on what?
I don't know. You hate the Black Panthers that much? But, I mean, he's not who I'm worried about. I'm worried about us. Because I saw too many of us, both Democrats and Black people.
Too many. Wait. I don't...
That were just like, oh, no, bro, Kamala Harris. I was like, what would have made you not... What would make you vote for Joe Biden? Like, if you didn't have a choice, the other choice is Trump. What would make you vote for him? Like, what would change your mind in one way or another? You know what I mean? Like, did you want to speak Kanye? Go ahead.
I don't understand how people can't grasp the idea that Joe Biden he's not great. He's actually not great in a bunch of ways. One of them is way too often he doesn't seem to be able to put a coherent sentence together. But I just don't see how people can't see that voting for Joe Biden isn't the best choice of the options we have. I don't see how they don't see that, right? Some people see a better option to either not vote at all, which is that's not a better option. And trust me, they're working hard enough to make sure that if you want to vote, you can't vote. So not voting because you don't want to is just making everybody's job easier.
Yeah.
Or voting for, writing in, people are still thinking about writing in Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, I know that it, like, and the argument that people always give me, one of my really good friends from high school, he makes this argument every time, and he's like, well, why should we have to vote between garbage and trash, right? Why can't everybody collectively just decide we're all gonna vote for Bernie Sanders? Because he can win. Like, that's how it works. He can win. If we all vote for him and he wins the popular vote, then he wins, right? Like, whatever, details aside, right? He can win. And every time he says that, I'm like, take me to Fern Gully with you, because you're obviously living in some imaginary world where that's possible, right? It's possible on this planet, but the likelihood is so low. Like, think about the campaign you would have already had to been doing to get everybody to get, even because what was the statistics? Something like the last election, only like 45% or 40% of eligible voters actually voted, something like that. Yep. So imagine just trying to get 21% of the American public, of the voting eligible American public, to write in Bernie Sanders. Think about what that would take.
Yeah,
think about the campaigns that people who are only going to solicit 3% of the vote have had to do so far. You think you're going to do better than that times 7? cut it out.
I think not only that, I think I just have a problem with the way people view the election. Because I'm like, all of the things that people say, they're like, it doesn't matter anyway. It doesn't matter. Democrat or Republican, doesn't matter. Doesn't change my life. Oh my God, I'm not going to vote. Like, whatever. They're all crooks. Like, there's so many different theories people have for not engaging in the system, not voting, any of that stuff. But then, and I'm not even going to make the cliche argument, but then they complain after people are in. Then they wonder what happened. They say, what's going on with this country? And I'm like, you and your rhetoric and the 2 to 3 people that you reach and the 2 to 3 people that they reach are all like creating this ecosystem in which none of y'all can actually, like, none of us can actually do what we're supposed to do. We can't actually engage the system and create the type of change that we want to engage, that we want to create. So I'm like, that's what's happening. So to sit here and act like your friend, when he said we could all vote Bernie Sanders, I'm like, yo, well, Bernie Sanders didn't win the primary, man. And to be honest, you can't get all of these people. You would have to get people to really believe. You'd have to get Bernie Sanders to not drop out of the race, to keep running, basically. You know what I mean? And all of that is stuff that could potentially put Donald Trump back in office. And the thing about Bernie Sanders too is that I think a lot of people were all about, like, I don't know, man. An old white man is just not going to cut it anymore. You know what I mean? I'm like, Bernie Sanders, when he ran the first time, I was like, cool. I was like, Bernie, you need to take all your ideals and you need to instill them into a younger candidate. Like, you need to pick a younger candidate and endorse them and be like, this is new Bernie. And then you might have got young people energized, but everybody's out here saying Bernie or bust. If Bernie, you just, like, if we want Bernie ideals, then AOC can't run. So I'm like, you're telling me there's not one person between AOC's age and Bernie's age that can run for president that has Bernie's ideals? There's not one. So I'm like, we either got to vote for a 76-year-old man or Joe Biden, who's also 76.
And I think that all the conversations that everybody has about all of the different ways that we can get more electable people, more, I don't even know the right word, more just generally attractive candidates. That is a fantastic conversation to start having on January 1st, 2021. As a fantastic, and have that conversation on the 2nd and on the 3rd and every day for the next 4 years. But right now is not that time. So right now we have to literally, and I think people don't understand, like, we're literally picking between bad and 100% worse. Yeah. And I don't understand why people don't see that, right? Like, it's like hot sauce in your cereal or getting hit by a car. Like, I'll just take the spicy cereal, bro.
Yeah,
like,
give me that spicy cereal.
But everybody's acting like it's they're two equal bads. And and for those people, I just like to wonder, what country have you lived in for the last 4 years? Because here in this country where I live, things have got significantly worse, like week over week. You know what I mean? Yeah. Imagine official, I don't even know what the right word is. Just imagine you found out that you were fired from your job because somebody tweeted it. Like, your manager tweeted that you're fired. Like, why is the highest office in this nation should be run with a level of dignity and officialness that just doesn't exist here?
No.
And unfortunately, sometimes I feel bad for, like, the people in his office, like the people in his immediate handlers, because they kind of are in a position where I feel like either they feel like they can't say something or they're being told by other people not to say something. And so Trump gets to go online, say whatever he wants, tweet whatever he wants. And then the next day, everybody else has to figure out, how do we make that seem sane? Like, how do we translate what he just said in a way that's like, oh, I know he just typed the letter P 17 times and hits enter. But really what that represents is the 17 Ps of democracy, right? Like, what, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How is that guy not immediately worse than any other option? Like, literally, like, I was talking to my homeboy earlier. I was like, yo, I vote for Bush at this point. Like, I vote for George W. Bush at this point.
So
because nothing is worse than this.
well, I mean,
except maybe Pitts. I think Pitts is worse.
That's one thing that gets me though, is like Bush was as bad as Trump politically. I mean, not political. I'm sorry. Policy wise, he was just as bad as us for Trump. And I think that's one thing I don't ever want to get away from, because what we're all referencing is how Trump makes us feel, which is tangible and bad. But Bush didn't make us feel like this. He would say dumb stuff and be like, this guy, you know what I mean? Like, we do that. But like policy wise, he was pretty bad. Like, there was some pretty heinous things that dude did in office. Like, don't forget about the entirety of the Iraq war.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, between all that and like the fact that we went in there and there were no weapons of mass destruction, and like generally the new policy towards the Middle East generally like just was not favorable to most of us at all. And then there's all the like little things, like the fact that he supported Neil Gorsuch, he supported Kavanaugh into the, I mean, I'm not even worried about Gorsuch. He supported Kavanaugh, was back there making phone calls and stuff with Kavanaugh while he was passing candy to Michelle Obama. He's over there also supporting Brett Kavanaugh. So, and I'm saying all that to say, what everyone doesn't like about Biden is that he's not excited. You're not excited to go vote for Joe Biden. We were excited to go vote for Barack Obama. You're not excited to go vote for Joe Biden. I'm not even excited to vote for Kamala, to be honest with you. I would love to vote for Stacey Abrams. I would have loved to vote for Andrew Yang, honestly. Like, there's nothing exciting about voting for an old white man. There is something exciting about voting for a black woman. But like in this case, my thing is like, since when you think about what Democrats are and how moderate they've become in this case, and you're looking at somebody who has like a spotty track record when it comes to law and order and what that does disproportionately to black people, like that's not exciting to vote for. All of that being said, Michael Jefferson, you think I'm still not gonna go in there and like turn up and vote? Like, I'm going in there to turn up and be like, yep, that's right. We vote for Biden Harris. Let's do it. Biden Harris all day. Biden Harris. Because I'm like, I know what the alternative is. And in the ways that Trump is worse than Bush, he's like way worse than Bush in some ways. You know what I mean? Like there's things like there's normal Republican things that Trump has done, but then there's the like, awful, evil things that he's said, and like the stuff he's doing to the post office to try to cheat, and the Russia stuff. You know what? I take it back. He is worse than Bush, but Bush was also very bad. I want to say that Bush was very bad. Trump, I think the worst thing about Trump is how obnoxious it seems that. Like, he says such ridiculous things. He says things that are obviously false. He says things that he's completely made up. When he's called out on it, he always is very, very what's the right word? He's very like deflective. Like, he's very like, I mean, it's like he'll say something terrible like Ronald Young Jr. kicks puppies in the face, and when you're like, actually we have hardcore evidence that never happened, he's like, well, that's what I heard, so whatever. Like, what? No, absolutely not. And it's absolutely the wrong answer. It's infuriating because he changed the definition of truth in that regard.
Exactly, and that's my concern. My concern is not that he's reckless, not that he's ridiculous, not that he's a butthole. My concern is that people have decided that this is fine.
Yeah.
Like, what he's doing is not only is it fine, but there's also a subset of people who's like, it's good. What he's doing is good. And I'm like, no, like, he's literally lying, and he's impervious to accountability. Like, there's no way to hold him accountable for anything. He won't take credit for the things he's done. He'll take credit for stuff other people did. He's just a lot. Like, I've never seen that before. And so here's the thing. I know that the way that I'm describing Donald Trump, and this is, I think, also bothers me, the way that I'm describing Donald Trump, I feel like people would feel justified in saying the same thing about Obama, about Hillary, about Biden, about Kamala. But the problem is that he is actually a terrible, terrible person. These other people, and you know what I would prefer? I would prefer if what he was doing seemed coherent, right? Like, if he was lying for what seemed like a purpose, like I'm lying so that you will believe this thing, so that I can do this thing. Like, I am not convinced that most of the time he's got a purpose for what he's doing. I am not convinced that most of the time he's just talking because it's his turn, right? Somebody handed him the microphone and he started freestyling, right? It's every night, every day with this kid is 8 Mile, right?
Yeah.
Just, you know, and nobody will ever talk about his parents and their great marriage, right? And nobody calls him out, or they can't. You know what I mean? Or they could, like they show, like you know what I mean? Like they show up, they're like, I'm gonna destroy this kid, and then they're like, oh well, you didn't pay your entry fee, so we can't let you in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something like that, where it's like the people who could possibly tear him down, they're being boxed out completely.
Yeah.
And nobody who's allowed in either is willing to or has the knowledge or the firepower to do anything. And it's amazingly frustrating how he, like you said, how he's changed the definition of truth. Like, how do you do that? Like, that's actually impressive. You know what I mean? Because he seems very stupid. And his speech patterns are absolutely ridiculous. When Trump is talking, there's no way. Okay, so you know how every song, like when it starts on that note, you can tell that it'll end on that note.
Yep.
Or when somebody starts to starts to have a conversation based on the cadence and the pacing of their words, you can at least do what you're doing now, where you're following along, like you're bouncing almost like it's rhythmic.
Yeah.
With Trump, he could literally start talking about one thing and end up talking about bananas, and there's and there's no rhyme or reason to it. And I think it's like, to me, it's so funny that every single speech or every single thing that Donald Trump's ever said out of his mouth could just as easily be a Sarah Cooper video.
Oh,
just
yes, easily. Yeah.
Like, there's nothing he's ever said that's been completely coherent.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever witnessed.
Yeah.
He couldn't say happy birthday without also messing it up in some way.
Yeah. Like, I feel like
that's the guy who's not, but you're worried about Joe. Like, to me, I think that no matter what Joe Biden, I keep saying Joe Biden.
Yeah,
Joe Biden literally could have punched the baby, and I would vote for him just because he's the other option. Like, that's all he needs to be, is the other option, and he wins. And I don't understand why that's not true for everybody.
Well, the other part is
human. Go ahead.
If we can't overcome, if he's already changing the rules to let himself win, then what we can't have, the only way we can overcome that is if every single person goes out and votes. And so when you got people that are like, I'm just not gonna go to the polls, I look at them and I'm just like, what's the worst thing that would happen to you or the people around you, like, to make you say, dang, I should have voted? Because I'm like, people are dying of something that could have been prevented. Like, I had this conversation with folks where I'm like, yo, bro, there's 150, 160,000 people dead. I remember I had this argument with my friend, and he was like, yeah, but the death percentage is so low. I was like, not if you're the one dying. Not if you're the one dying. It's not
zero.
Yeah.
So it's a problem.
Yes. I'm like, dog, 5 million people infected. I'm like, we're not even talking about the lasting effects on those people, but you're only talking about people who are dead right now. And then I keep running into people that I was like, well, I think they're inflating those numbers. I'm like, that's a stupid conspiracy theory. It helps no one to inflate those numbers. It helps no one.
But here's the funniest part. Do you know how many laws and regulations are in place because one person died one time from something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, so that doesn't make any sense. Do you know how many, like it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous because so many laws and regulations have been put into place to save the lives of, and the law and regulation has actually caused people to die in the attempt to save people's lives, right? Like, curbs and sidewalks and crossing and crossing crosswalks were all invented so that people don't hit pedestrians when they're walking across the street. Except science has showed that not having a curb at all also does the same thing. So in cities where there is no curb, there is no sidewalk, so you don't know whether or not what's the street and what's the road, everybody's more safe. Everybody's more cautious. Same thing with like a traffic circle.
Yeah.
When there's a green light, you don't look to see if there's a car coming across. You don't look. You have the green light. I don't care what's happening.
Yeah.
More people get T-boned in those situations than in a traffic circle, because in a traffic circle, you've got to be aware of who's coming in, who's coming out, right? So everybody naturally slows down. Well, so what you're telling me is we could put that in place and save 4 people, but we can't put something in place that stops hundreds of thousands of people from dying from a thing that we knew about long before we did anything about. And had we actually done something about that, we'd all be at the same pool party right now.
The funny part about that is like when you said that, I was like, you're absolutely right. When the light is green, I don't look for anyone coming.
No,
I'm like, the light is green, here I go.
Absolutely not. But you don't look for other cars. You don't look for pedestrians, dogs, bikes. You don't look for anything because the light is green. And the rule is, if the light is green, then you've got it. But the problem is there's no accountability there. So if you hit somebody when the light is green, guess whose fault it is? Everybody's but yours because the light was green. And that's how it works. But in a traffic circle, you just slow. You don't know the rules. You don't trust that anybody else knows the rules. So everybody slows down.
You got to be watching. Everything should be a traffic circle.
But think about it too. Think about what's one of the main places. And I'm sorry, I derailed a little bit. But think about what's one of the main places where you would think everybody would get hit by cars all the time, forever. A college campus. Because that's the number one place where everybody walks in the middle of the street.
Oh, Bama's dive bomb the street in college. Yes.
People have only been driving for like a year, so I don't know why. But everybody is just more cautious. Everybody slows down. Everybody just pays more attention because you have to. And that's what happens. When you have to pay more attention, everybody does.
Let me just push back a little. Maybe the drivers
absolutely not. End of the show. Thanks, guys.
the drivers certainly play more attention. The pedestrians do not. Like,
well, they feel more comfortable that they won't be hit, right?
I guess. I don't know what it is in college. I've watched Bama's when I went to VCU, when I left VCU, when I go back and visit VCU, kids dive bomb the road. They just run straight. And I'm talking like, you're just driving. And I'm like, no. You cannot just run into the street. And there's just something about like a 19-year-old that's just like, whatever. I just keep walking. And I'm like, so I got to a place where when I go back and visit, where I don't slow down no more.
You say what? I know what you did last summer, dog.
I haven't hit nobody, but I got to a place where I'm like, I'm getting up there and I'm like, I'm not going to slow down. And I'm like, and if I clip them, I clip them. Because I'm like, at this point, pretty much. Because at this point, it's like, but what it does is it stops them from doing that little look. Because now they're like, oh, wait, hold on. This dude's not stopping. Like, yeah, that's right. Play those games. Stop running into the street. That's the only way you go learn.
I'd be the one who did all of that, and then everybody saw it, and somebody punches through the window or something. I'd end up on World Star. No. Oh,
absolutely.
Slow down. I'm just gonna slow down.
Have you ever been on World Star?
No, I haven't.
Neither have I.
I've never done anything worthy of it. Does it even still exist?
Yes. Every now and then I feel like a World Star hip hop video. Well, where else do we watch fights now? World Star hip hop. Yeah, it's still here. Yeah.
I never hear anybody talk. I don't even hear anybody reference World Star like a joke anymore. Like I don't.
Yeah, I really don't. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Oh, it looks like there's a fight. Oh, there's some. Oh, yeah, there's a couple fights on here too. Yeah, no, they're still here. Still going strong. World Star, we're still here. That's their new model. That's their 2020 model.
I like it. That's one heck of a tagline. Yeah, but I know that people don't like Joe Biden. I don't know all the details about Joe Biden. I know he's done some not great things. I don't, again, particularly think he's incredible by any means, but I don't see how, because at the very least, as a Democrat, he can reverse some of the stuff that Trump's done. Like, so at the very least, we go back to we go from -1,000 to -10, right? Even if we don't make leaps and bounds of progress, even if they never, whatever. At the very least, we can get Betsy DeVos out of here, right? Like at the very least.
People aren't thinking that far ahead. You're right. They're not thinking that far ahead. Like Betsy DeVos, Ben Carson, the new whoever the new Supreme Court justices are, all of that matters. Like you gotta straight up, because it's funny too, because Mitch McConnell already said, they're like, all right, so Mitch, if one of the Supreme Court justices dies, what would you do? He's like, we'd fill the seat. I'm like, but you said during the election year, when Obama had a seat open, that you were like, nah, we're not gonna do it during election year. but you did it because you wanted to make sure that in case a Republican came in, they could fill that seat. So I'm like, now the funny thing is like that they're openly stating their hypocrisy. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I just don't want to, I can't believe it. Have you ever think about this, Michael Jefferson? This might shift the conversation a little bit. I want you to think about this. Think about one of the most hypocritical things you've ever done. Like, think about one of the most like, dang, I really changed my mind on this one, or I don't think that no more, or ooh, that might work for them, but not work for me. All right. Do you have something in your mind? Can you think of something like that?
Yes.
Okay. Imagine if whatever you got wound up about, jumped somebody else down somebody else's throat about doing, they have you on camera doing the exact same thing on camera, on the record, on Twitter, written down, like everywhere. We can see it. We can easily find a reference of you doing this exact thing that we also have a record of you chastising someone else for. Do you think shame would kick in at some point? You'd be like, what would be, just tell me your honest response. If I was like, Michael Jefferson, here's a video of you doing this. Here's a video of you yelling about me doing this.
Wait a minute. So did I like just say this? Like I said it yesterday and you showed me the video today?
This is like, okay, so we'll do it like this. So in 2018, you were like, you know what? I'm never shaving my head. Everybody who shaves their head is chumps. Never gonna shave it. I don't care. Look at you over there with your cold head. You trash. You trash. All of y'all shaved heads are trash. All of y'all trash. We have him on video. You have shirts that say it. Like your whole brand is on having hair. Yeah, on having hair. All that. A year later, you come out and you said, and we were like, hey man, this is what we say. Here's a video. We noticed you shaved your head. Here's a video of what you said about shaved heads. And your response is basically something like, well, I don't see why anybody should be talking about anybody with shaved heads. I think shaved heads are fine. I'm like, yeah, but you were talking about people with shaved heads. Well, I think shaved heads are fine. I think they're fine. But you were talking about it.
I'd start off with an apology. Like,
you know what?
That's my fault. And I never should have said that. And I'm embarrassed that I said it. And right? You know, that's what you have to do. Yes. That's what you have to do. You got to eat crow. You got to eat crow. But here's the thing. Because I do this at work too. Yeah. You eat crow quickly. You devour that crow. You get that crow gone. Because the quicker and more aggressively you do it, the quicker it can be over. Because then you can just keep referencing. Yep. And I already said that. Yep, we already went over that, right? You just keep referencing but the longer it takes for you to do it, the stupider you look when you eventually either have to do it or you have to just, and that's what I think. And I think that could be it too. I think if you deny for so long, you just have to keep denying.
Yeah.
There's a point where you just cross a point of no return. You just have to. It's kind of like when somebody goes to jail, like you did it, but they just have to for the rest of their life. They just have to be like, I didn't do it. They have to. There's no other option.
You mean OJ? You're talking about OJ.
Sure. I mean, but it seemed to work out okay for him. But the point is
did it? But did it though? I mean, he's out now.
I don't know.
I don't even know, man. That dude had a rough second half of his life, dog.
He made bad decisions and then somehow made worse decisions. And I'm not really sure how one would do that. He leaned into. He was like, "Oh, bad decisions. Oh, all right." He went and just leaned in. I don't know.
If you watched, did you watch OJ Made in America?
No.
Oh, okay. Oh my God, it's so good.
I haven't watched any of the good ones. I didn't watch any of it.
No, Michael Jordan. The Last Dance is not that good. The first 3 episodes are good, and then it just tanks. But I'm saying like the OJ documentary. It's so good because it got an Oscar, and it's so good because not only they do a couple things. One, they say, here is OJ's entire life. And then they use that as a lens to say, here's how America made this man. And then they basically say, and this is the LA that he was going into at the time when he was playing. I think he played at UCLA, if I'm not mistaken. They're like, this is what the LA he was dealing with. These were the riots. This is all the riots happened. At one point, I forgot it was an OJ documentary because he went so deep into like the unrest in LA. Then when they zoom back out, they talk about what OJ did. And then they do something that I've never seen before. They show the pictures of Nicole Brown's body after he attacked her, which I had never seen before. Michael Jefferson. And I grew up, I'm an OJ kid. So I grew up being like, yeah, that's right, not guilty. Black people. I grew up with all that. And I saw the pictures and all that. And I was like, and then the cop said something. He was like, to me, if OJ did this, the fact that he did this to these parents and left them in a position where those kids could have come downstairs at any time and found their mother, he's like, that is evil. And I was like, yo, that's true. So, but over the span of this whole time I'm watching it, it's just like envelops you, man. And I said all that to say, OJ, you're right. And his decision making is just, he gets off scot-free with a murder if he did it. Gets off with a scot-free with a murder, and then basically gets locked up for stealing sports memorabilia, stealing back his own sports memorabilia, if you will. But I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? You stupid.
You wanted to go to jail?
Yeah. He's like, you know what? I'm not doing enough. Let me go back to jail real quick.
That's your always big Ron sticker face.
It's the other way.
No, I'm looking at it right here.
Yeah, but it's the other way. You're mirrored. It's this way.
No, I like my way better. But no, I mean, I don't know. I guess we got to button it up. But I don't understand. I feel like people are just being contrarians just cause, right? Yeah. And I don't think they understand the damage that does. Because it's already going to be hard. It's hard enough for people who want to vote and don't live in a place where they're going to be able to vote and are trying to vote by mail and may not be able to do that. For people who can vote, have the means to vote, can take the day off of work, can drive over to the place. There's more than one polling place in a 50-mile radius. They can stand in line and go vote and be in and out in 20 minutes. And that person's not going to vote? Meanwhile, you've got somebody in the middle of America where there's only one post office in the whole state, and that's closed. And you know what I mean?
That's nuts, man. That's nuts.
It is absolutely. It's disgusting, and I don't understand how it's. I don't understand how it's possible. Like, to me, there's certain things in the world. There's certain things in the United States that are institutions that should be like untouchable, right? Yeah. Like in order to affect them, like you literally have to get like all three branches to say yes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I feel like the Postal Service, like, come on, man. That's like, yeah. That's like, because once you say to people, like, okay, like think about water, right? You can't legally, no matter what I do or
Hold
what
on.
I say.
Let me think about water real quick. All right, got it.
So you got you still got the thought of water.
It's in my head. I'm thinking about water right now.
If you don't pay your rent or become a squatter, never leave the room again, they can't turn the water off and they can't turn the heat off, except in extreme circumstances and for a long period of time.
Yeah. Correct.
So no matter who owns the water, who's supplying the water, who's the water maintenance company, whatever, they can't just cut your water off. You have to provide extreme circumstances under which it no longer makes sense to provide water to your unit, right? Yeah. Same thing with heat in the winter. They can't cut your heat off no matter what happens. They cannot cut your heat off until there's an extenuating circumstance. So how is that possible? But mail, which is sadly one of the most reliable communication networks in the United States, can be affected.
Bro, I have no idea.
How can that be okay? I just don't understand. Like, how can that be okay? Like, that's to me, that's the kind of stuff we make fun of North Korea for. You know what I'm saying? Like, that it is. That's the kind of stuff we make fun of, like authoritarian countries. They control everything. You can only order one of two pairs of glasses. You can only, you know what I mean? You can only have one or two kinds of haircuts. Like, that's the kind of stuff we make fun of other countries for. And here in our country, they're saying, well, like, if you're not sending FedEx, I don't know what you're going to do, but you're not going to send the USPS. And I think the craziest part about it is you can tell that rich people are making these decisions because all of these things will affect a rich person for not a second.
Not 1 second.
Think about it. Like, even if you order an Amazon package, and the Amazon package is delivered by UPS, there's going to become a point in a large swath of the middle of America where UPS still can't deliver that package. It still has to get handed over to United States Postal Service. Right? There's huge parts of the country like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's parts of this country that the only plane that flies into that area is a postal plane.
Yeah.
Right? You can't even catch a normal flight out of that area. There's whole parts of the country that
were designed you gotta sit
around.
You got to sit in the back with the bags, like just holding on.
I mean, once upon a time, that was the only way you could fly.
I'm sorry, I just imagine you being like, "Ugh, I got to get out of Wyoming, man. I'm about to go see my man Ronald," and they just you in the back with the bags, like, "Hold on, we almost there."
There's no strap, so you just
nothing. You just like
around.
clutching onto the bags for your life.
I don't know, man. So I just don't know how that's allowed, but I'm just saying, if we're 4 years in and the president is trying to delete the United States Postal Service, do we really want to give him like another 4 years to see what else he'll delete?
Yes.
Do we want to just try it out and see how it'll go for 4 more years?
Exactly. Like why?
To see if maybe they'll just, maybe he'll just delete water. Maybe he'll take water away.
I mean, the thing is, though, he's already shown he's not above just doing whatever he wants. He's not. So he installed his friend to the post office and was like, gut it. His friend starts gutting the post office. Just like when he said, build the wall. And they're like, we don't want to. He's like, we're going to build it anyway. Like, you know what I mean?
Imagine him just saying, hey, oh, you in there? Oh, you sitting at the desk? So you're in the Postal Service right now?
Yeah.
Head office? Okay. Gut it.
Yeah. I guarantee
take all
you.
Of the guts out.
I guarantee you that's how that conversation went. He literally was just like, all right, we're done here. Like, turn it off. Like, we're not. But my thing is, I don't even know why he wants to be president for another 4 years. Listen, I don't want to spend an hour talking about Trump because we could do this all night. What you wanted to segue to something?
So, oh man, I can't remember the first segue. Oh, it was gonna be good. Now I don't remember what it was.
Leadership.
Oh, no.
What makes it a good
That
leader?
wasn't it. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Hold on 1 second. Talk to the people.
All right. So, as you know, I am Ronald. If you can see there's a pile of bags. My new co-host is a pile of bags. Let's go to the comments. Took money from the military to fund that wall. Correct, Charlotte. That is exactly what he did. And generally, it's funny because he took money from the military. The military is already overfunded. But if you can move that money from the military for a wall, then you can certainly move it to other places of the government which are underfunded, like the post office, which makes absolutely zero sense.
I'm so sorry, guys. Okay,
it's okay.
What I wanted to talk about was leadership, and here's why. Well, actually, hold on. Let me. I have another. Wait, hold on. Pause leadership for just a second. I have an advice question
for yourself.
Yes.
You need advice?
Yeah.
So only I can give you this advice. This is great.
It's hypothetical. It's hypothetical, but just follow me for a second.
Okay, cool. Everyone share this video with one other person. We'd like to get to 20 viewers. We're at 7.
So hypothetically, I have a friend. And my friend was he works at his job. He used to be a temporary employee, right? So he got paid hourly. He didn't get any benefits or anything like that. But he worked at the company for about a year. And at a year mark, they were like, hey, look, we've got, now that we've got our funding for the year and everything, we'd like to bring you on full time. And so my friend was like, yeah, that sounds great. But, typically when you bring people on full time and they go from hourly to salary, usually their rate goes down because there's got to be room for the fringe, right? For you to get bonuses and for you to get health care and for you to get paid time off and stuff like that. So typically, if you're making $30 an hour, typically it goes down to like $26 an hour, but then you also get holiday pay and all that, which, my friend has never worked anywhere where it just hasn't gone like that, but it sucks. So they were like, well, we'll see what we can do. And so they came back to my friend and they said, look, we're going to bring you on at your exact rate equivalent, salary, and we're going to give you benefits and all of this stuff. And so my friend was like, oh, that's amazing. So he signed the paperwork and all of that. There was no paperwork. He just had to say, I agree to be full-time. And they did it. So my friend, we'll make up a number. My friend used to make what's $30,000 a year? Let's do the math on that.
$30,000 a year is $30,000 a year.
I mean $30 an hour.
Because that's what you just asked me. I want to be clear.
$30 an hour is $62,000 a year. So my friend was making $30 an hour. And, so they were supposed to be paying him the same amount, but yearly. So what actually happened is, so what's 62,400 divided by 26, which is 24, which is how many pay periods he gets paid as a salaried employee. So he should have gotten a $2,600 paycheck, right? Yep. 26 times 24, 64, 62,400. Instead, they gave them like $4,000, right? And so that was confusing to him because he was like, well, that's significantly more money. But then he was like, oh, wait, because I'm a full-time employee, full-time employees get paid from the 1st to the 15th on the 15th. Temporary employees get paid from the 1st to the 15th on what's a week after the 15th, whatever that next Friday is. So they get paid a week in arrears while full-time's paid current. So he's like, oh, well, maybe it's that extra week that they would have owed me from the crossover. So he called them up and he said, well, based on this, you guys actually would owe me a little bit more money. And they said, oh, okay, we messed up. We'll fix it. And then they sent him another direct deposit for $2,000. So what now the advice that I had for my friend was, obviously something's going on here. So what I would recommend is that you take whatever's over, whatever is over the amounts that you're owed, and just put it in your savings account just for this pay period. Just put it in your savings account for this pay period. If the next time you get paid, you also get $4,000 again, then that's just I don't know what to tell you. You just got to live your life on the edge, because I would spend it. Because if they just going to keep making this mistake, I don't know if that's my fault, But if they fix it, here's the problem. If they fix it, next time they just give you $2,600, then I say you probably should say something about the rest of the money. But here's the only other thing. How long can a company pay you the wrong amount of money before they're like, oh, hey, we've been paying you the wrong amount of money, so we're just going to take it all back now. We're just going to start taking it back.
See, and that's
go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say that's what a company would do. They would pay you $4,000. They'd overpay you on accident. And then they would be like, hey, look, we overpaid you. So what we're going to do, you can keep that money, but we're going to take what we should have paid you out of all of your remaining checks. And so now you're only going to get $1,000 a month or $1,000 every 2 weeks instead of the 26 that we wanted to give you, which then messes you up. So I'm like, my thing is, I always feel like if you are the bank, if you are the corporation, if you are the billionaire, and you make a rounding error, a mistake, any of that stuff, you got to eat that cost. Yes. Because I'm like, that is the cost of you not being exact, man. You got too much money to be running around here. And then, like, for you to give me $6,000 in a month and me not be like, oh my God. Because I'm like, I'm honest. And I'd be like, y'all gave me too much money. Because I'd be like, I don't want y'all coming back on me. Because the stress.
And that's my big thing. My big thing that I told my friend is I was like, the problem is going to come. See, the thing about it is, here's the worst part. I don't think you understand what the worst part is not they paid him $4,000, then they gave him $2,000 extra dollars. Then his next pay period, they only give him $100 and they send him a note saying, hey, we had to take the rest of the money back. That's not the worst. That's not the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
The worst case scenario is 7 months from now after they've given him $4,000 a week every 2 weeks for 7 months. And then they're like, oh, hey, for the last 7 months, we've been paying you too much. Because then he ain't got that money. That money is gone. There's no hope for any of those extra thousands of dollars. No hope. You know what I mean?
My friend, me and her used to go to the same gym a couple years ago. And I won't say the name because they might be watching. But when they were going to the gym, the lady who was in charge of the gym was horrendously bad with administrative tasks.
Like I remember I started going to that gym and they were like, it's this much. I was like, all right, cool. And then like a month went by and I was like, who do I need to give my card to? Like, who do I even pay? They're like, oh yeah. Give your card to so-and-so. And I was like, so-and-so's not here. Oh, we'll see her on Thursday. Thursday comes, so-and-so's still not there. So I just keep working out. And then eventually I'm like, all right, I've been going to this gym for like a month and a half. Does somebody want my money? And I'm like, I'm a person that like, I'm at this point, I'm like, I'm only going to say something. I'm saying something because I don't want to owe you this. I don't want to like come back. So my friend, anyway, like long story short, I ironed it out. But my friend had been going there for something like 6 or 7 months. And they like never charged her. And they finally reached out and was like, yo, we haven't charged you for the last like 7 months. Can we get that money? And she was like, no.
No, of course not. Of course you can't.
Because the thing was, she was like, one, I thought you were taking it. That's my bad for never checking. And two, now you're saying you want to take back the 7 months that I thought was gone all at once in chunks so I can pay you all back now? Like now it's become a hardship for me to have to pay you like 7 months over the next X amount of time or pay you twice a month now when you should have been just taking it this whole time. And I thought you were. And it turns out you weren't. So I'm like, no, man, like you got to have your ducks in a row with this stuff, man. Like that's why when I get an invoice or something, I try to close it immediately so we don't have these issues. Like you don't want to just run around like having, I don't know.
So here's the funny, so there's a couple of things there. So, all right, if you work at a large company, I feel like there's a couple of things at play. If they let it go on, if it was just 1 month, that's one thing. If they let it go on for like 6 months, I feel like one, they should be embarrassed, right?
Absolutely.
And because they should be embarrassed, they should be willing to work with you. So let's say, for instance, they overpaid you $6,000 or something. You should be able to go back to them and be like, all right, well, I can only afford to give you like $150 a check, right? There should be nothing wrong with that. Also, if they owe you $6,000, just quit.
Yeah.
Just quit. I don't understand. Just quit. If you can find another job. If you can't find another job, you pay them the $150. But I'm just saying. Because also legally now, I don't know what the amount is, but legally, even like your check, even if like you owed Uncle Sam and he came for garnishment, they can only garnish you like 15%. Like there's a maximum amount of money that legally can be taken out of your check before you receive it. So even if you owe a large amount of money, there's no way they're not allowed to confiscate your entire check. Even if like the only way that that's legal, or the only legal way that I've ever seen it happen is if people owed back vacation. That's the only time I've ever seen a company successfully and legally take a significant amount, like 50%, 60% of somebody's final check. And that is if you owed them. Because even when I left Deloitte, I had used my credit card for stuff I shouldn't have. And I didn't pay them. And they were like, hey, can you pay us? And I was like, no. And they're like, okay, bye. I never heard from them again. So,
Wait, that's it? That was the end?
Yeah, that was the end. But it's Deloitte, right? And so that's what I'm saying. Like, if you work for like a Subway where like I'm the owner of the Subway, yeah, I'm gonna need to get all my coins back. But if you work at like Disney, like, isn't it even worth it for Disney to pursue this?
No, because some of that stuff is a rounding error. Like Disney's a multi-billion-dollar company. It's like, dog, you do not need to hunt down. Oh, like, here's the thing. This should be happening one-off. All of this stuff should be one-off. So if I gave Michael Jefferson $6,000 1 month, one, I don't have to chase it. Two, I don't have to recoup that money. But maybe I should learn that lesson going forward. Hey, we need to put some extra checks in here so we make sure that everyone's not like in the system. So we make sure that people aren't just like running off for $6,000 every month because we can't afford to do this every single month. But I'm like, Bama's be out here. It reminds me, I've been watching the Oceans trilogy. It reminds me of Terry Benedict and the guy who they stole the money from in the first movie. The second movie, he comes back and is like, yo, I want all my money back with interest. And the lady says to him, she was like, you got all your money back from insurance. He was like, no, but I want what they took from me. He's like, plus interest. And they were like, you're just being a jerk. Like, what? You're just doing it just because you feel insulted? Like, that's not, like, come on, man.
Here's the problem for me personally, though, right? Everything I'm saying is theory. Theoretically, They shouldn't do this. They should do this. Da, 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 da. But here's all it would take to break me, and this is why I can't do it. All it would take to break me is for somebody to be like, so where do you think the extra money came from then? You knew you got more money than you should have. So what did you think was going to happen? Like, I'd be like, I know. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, that's all it would take to break me is somebody being like, so what? So you're just going to steal them? Like, you knew it wasn't yours because you knew it's not the right amount. You didn't ask anybody about it. So what was your plan? You just were going to steal it. You're just going to steal it.
And that's why I would say, I'd be like, dog, I would break it up. And I would always say something. It's just like at Chipotle, when you go to Chipotle and they give you too much change back. Like if I didn't remember when I got to the house, then it's just like, my bad. I mean, if I put it in my pocket and think about it, I get home and I'm like, oh snap, they gave me more change. I mean, I don't think anything of it. If I'm in the store, I look down and I see it, I'm like, oh snap, bro, you gave me a 5. Like you need to chill. Your till's gonna be off. You know what I mean? Like fix this. But I feel like the same thing with the paycheck. Like if I look down and I notice, I'm gonna say something. Be like, all right, come on, man. Like, because it's the stress. It's the stress.
But the other side of it is like, okay, so imagine that happened. Imagine that. So now they're paying you way more money. You're supposed to get $2,600 a check. You get $4,000 a check. That happens. It happens for 1 week. You're like, all right, I'm gonna wait till the next week and just see how it happens. Then your next paycheck, they do it again, and you're like, man. But something terrible happened. Your car broke down. And you're like, all right, I'm gonna just use the money, fix the car, and then I'll take care of the rest. I'm gonna tell them next paycheck. And then next paycheck comes around and they give it to you again. And you're like, let's see how far we can run this up. Now, imagine that you just saved it. You put the money away. You had every intention of giving it back the second they asked you for it. Let's say they did that for like 12 months, right? And nothing happened. And then like the company closed down and it was just over and nothing ever happened. So take that scenario. Now take this other scenario. Imagine if you did it for like two weeks, nothing happened to you, and then 2 weeks later, nothing else happened, and then on the third week, you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna say something." So you call them up, you tell them, da da da, and they're like, "So you know what it reminds me of?" Think about it like this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut off my own scenario with a new scenario.
You're good.
Remember that episode of The Office where Michael Scott called to cancel his reservation that they couldn't find, and then when they finally find the reservation, they charge him a fee for canceling it. That's my biggest fear. So it was a cold open.
Yeah,
and he was calling. Yeah. That's my biggest fear. Is that I'll call somebody up and I'll be like, "Hey, you guys are paying me too much," and they'll be like, "No, we're not. It says listed right here. You make $4,000 every 2 weeks," and I'm like, "No. My salary's always been $2,600." They're like, "Sir, it says $4,000 a week. That's how much it." Oh, you know what? You're right. It is only $2,600. Because I'll be like, wait a minute, how long could I have gotten away with that for? You mean you were never gonna know? You mean never? So you're telling me never? Okay, now I'm pissed. Never mind.
See, but that's the thing. If I find that out, I would reach out to them and be like, I'd make sure they were on the record. I was like, can you send me an email confirming this? I get that on the record. I'd print that email out. I'd frame it. I'd go talk to a lawyer and be like, all right, cool. And then I would take everything over $2,600. You put it in a high yield savings account. And if you could have enough discipline, do not touch it. Because when they come knocking for it, at the very least, you could take out the money you owe them and you keep that juice. That juice is yours. By the way, I call interest juice now.
Yeah, that's weird. I was just going to keep going past. I wasn't going to address it.
Yo, you keep the juice for yourself. You keep the points. You got to keep the juice. You got to keep the juice.
I like that.
All right, what was your transition though?
Leadership. So I was talking to one of my former employees. So I used to be a help
at the Apple store.
I did used to work at the Apple store, but I was not a manager there. I used to work at nope. What? Come on, guys. Listen, I don't know who needs to know. But dear my job, I don't work at 5. They keep sending these meetings for 5 and 6 p.m. Who's going to that?
Let me just tell you who hates that. Marilyn Denise Young and Ronald, but Marilyn Denise Young. If they send me, like, there's 2 times I won't go to a meeting. You send me an 8 a.m. meeting, I'm not going. The earliest meeting, I'll be at work at 8 a.m., but I'm not going to a meeting until 9
9:30 at the 9:30. I'm like, if Bama sent an email after 4 p.m. and later, like, you must not have wanted me there because I'm not coming. Because like I'm not interested in this anymore. I don't care about what you're talking about.
My brain is switched off. Yeah.
I've stopped listening. I've stopped listening before I even got in the room. And I walk through, all right, and I'm like, oh, y'all want me to do some real critical thinking at 4 o'clock?
But here's the thing. I take it one step further than that because a lot of people don't do this. I set my work day. My work day starts at 9 and ends at 5. So it should be gray. When you try to schedule me for 5, it should be gray. It should be like, are you sure? Because I don't think he's coming. That's number one. Number two, I also block little times out of my day where you just can't book a meeting with me.
I do.
I have 3 1 hour blocks where you can't book a meeting. So you better look for those other 5 hours. But I'm not doing a meeting at 5. I'm not doing it. They had a meeting today. There was a meeting at 5:30. And the only reason I joined that meeting is because I just happened to have my phone up and it popped up and I just hit it. But I was playing video games. I wasn't paying no attention to it. I'm not coming to a 5 o'clock. Are you stupid? No. You must be stupid. I'll work at 5 o'clock. I'll be in the middle of something and just keep working on it 5, 6, 7. I'll work that late, but there's no way you're going to get me to communicate with another one of you human beings after 5. No,
bro. I was at Fannie Mae. I was at my last job at Fannie Mae, and when I was there, I remember I worked from home on Fridays, and this lady schedules a meeting on a Friday, and I'm like, I didn't work for this lady, I didn't know nothing about her. All of a sudden, I'm like, I'll see what this meeting is, and then she was like, she set the meeting for a 2-hour block, and at this time at Fannie Mae, I had started doing this thing where I was daylighting, where I was taking audio recording gigs like during the workday and just blocking them out as meetings and then going to do the gig and then coming back to work. So I'd be like, yeah, double dip it. So I was doing that or whatever. And I'd see it and I'm like, dang, I got to cancel this. So I had to get the audio recording covered. And then I was like, all right, well, I'm still taking this meeting from home because I work from home. Out of nowhere, she's like, we need to be in person for this meeting. So I was like, I don't know why. Show up to the meeting, 3 of us, there's only 3 of us, walk in with our laptops. She talks for about maybe 20 to 30 minutes. And then she's like, okay, yeah, I think we're good. And I wanted to be like, I got to spend a whole day in the office because you decided that you needed me to be in here for this meeting. And I think that
was a power move. Yeah,
that was one time where I was like, I don't want to do this with y'all no more. I'm like, that's one thing. I'm like, as I'm building my own workplace culture now, I'm like, I don't want people working for me that will do stuff like that. And I'm not going to do that to nobody. If I need you in the office, I'm going to tell you a week, 2 weeks in advance, or it's an emergency. Other than that, like, work from the moon. I don't care. Get it done. I do not care.
You know, my other thing too, I'm all for a morning huddle, 15 minutes at the most.
Yes.
I do not want to meet with another one of you until 1. Don't schedule no meetings before lunch. Yeah. Right? Because that's what I need to get work done. That's when I'm the freshest. That's when the stuff that I was worried about yesterday, I can get done. Like, I need everybody to get out of, like, when I was so going back to talking about leadership, when I was a manager, I refused to have a meeting with my team. As a matter of fact, I told my manager, I said, I don't have meetings with my team, and I don't think you should have meetings with us before that time either. Right? Because when would we get work done? Because what you're saying to me is that the most important thing in my morning is the thing you want me to do.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then I'm not going to do work instead. And I told my manager, I said, if you want me to check these ticket counts, to train my team, to make the I used to have to make training manuals and stuff, update the knowledge base. If you want me to do this incident management and all of that, if you want me to do that, I'm going to do that in the morning. If you want to meet with me, pick which one of those things you don't want done today. Because I can guarantee you one of them's not happening.
Yes, agreed.
You know what I mean? Because it's just obnoxious. How can I get anything done if the first thing I'm doing in the morning, is look and see if I have any new emails? Once I realize that none of them are absolutely, what's the right word? Absolutely like on fire, I close my email. I don't like minimize my email. I X out of it, and then I go to the panel on the side and I close Outlook because no, I'm not talking to any of you until at least lunch. Because nothing fair. You could say to me could be more important than the work I need to get done right now. Now, sometimes I only have 2 hours worth of work to do. I need to update this, and make this update to this project, change the schedule, follow up on this task and that task. But other than that, I don't do so. If I stop doing that early, then I might start checking my emails around 11 or something. But like, people can't decide for me what I need to do today. You know what I mean? You can tell me what you need, and I can tell you when I can get it to you.
I still
can't decide. Go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go. Keep finish.
You can't. People's emails to you and people's meetings to you are them prioritizing your time, right?
Agreed.
And you can make a request. I think, and I was never. I know you do. I know you're a Scrum Master. I was never a Scrum Master. I was never a software guy. But when you have a requirement, we'll put it in this list, and we'll look over the list every day, and I'll tell you what order I can get it done. You tell me what you want done, and I can tell you when I can get it back to you. That's how it is. This is my story. This is my Scrum for the. This is my what is it called? My sprint for the week. You may not make the cut. You know what I mean? So this is my morning sprint. This is what I got going on. Your priority may not make the cut. See you in the afternoon. And that's why I'm big on working meetings too. I'm big on like, oh, you guys want me to do something? All right, let's get on the phone. Okay, everybody on the phone. All right, let me share my screen. Now, what did you want me to do? I'm so quick to do that.
I got to cut you off. Plug your stuff. It's the top of the hour.
Absolutely. Everybody, I need you to check out masspobeats.com for your audio listening pleasure. We've got beats for rappers, singers, and people who just enjoy listening to word-free music. Leases for those beats start at $19.99, or of course, you can always listen to them for free at masspobeats.com. Be sure to check it out. Share with your friends and family. Share and retweet and all that on all your social media. And please follow me on Instagram at masspotential. Thank you very, very much.
What is up, everybody? It is your boy, Big Ronald. Of course, you are watching / listening to Talking Loud and Saying Nothing right now. And I want you guys to support It's Big Ron Studios. Right now, I'm putting the link into the comments. And if you'll notice the link, it just says itsbigron.com. That's because the website just went live. So if you go in there and look around, if you want to help us out on Patreon, there's a button on there that says Patreon. Click that. It'll take you right to the website. Every contribution you make helps. Yesterday, I bought a new microphone that I will be using later this week for a voiceover. Today, I paid off the work on the website. If you go, you can see where your money is actually going. Where does my money go to? It went to building the website. It went to giving the mic. It went to, chit-chatting a patty whack. It's your boy Big Ron. All of that stuff. Your money goes towards that. So, it's Big
steak dinners, right?
Steak dinners, heartache, chest pains. If you say yes to any of these, yes. Man, you missed it. Are you serious? If you say yes or no. But anyway, itsbigron.com. Go if you click on Patreon, you can support right there. Click around, look what I have there, and itsbigron.com. That's where it's at. Thanks for supporting us. So what I was going to say to you was one thing. I think that those vestiges, the last vestiges of that style of work are on their way out, I think, because I think what's happening new is this new like manage your own work, but get it done. And that seems to be taking the place of be here, sit here and look busy and be in these meetings all day. Because I'm like, the idea of like, because to me now that I think about it, now that I've been working from home, I sit here and I wonder, I was like, man, it seems like a luxury to be in a room with a bunch of people all working. It just seems like some sort of luxury. Like you can't get people to meet. You can't get people to meet up to like do fun stuff, let alone come to one day place every day and do work. And it's just like the entire structure of corporate America is already like, it's flawed, like from the top down, bottom up, like, you know what I mean? So, but I think that idea, the idea of being able to manage your day, the idea of being able to pick your tasks, plan your own sprints, prioritize, because my thing is like, I feel like managers should just be there for priority. That's it. It should be like, hey, Ronald, you need to do 3, 2, 1, 5, and not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? And they'd be like, oh, okay, cool. And then you work on it. They shouldn't be over there being like, hey, what are you doing? I noticed that you took a break. You take a lot of breaks. Oh, I noticed. Can you come to this meeting? Because like what you just said about the morning meeting and then the 1 o'clock meeting, I'm like, bro, there used to be some days where I'd be like, oh, well, today's my meeting day. Because I would go in, I'd have a meeting at 9, I'd have a meeting at 10, I would go to lunch at 11:30. I'd have a meeting at 1. I'd have a meeting at 2:30. And I'd be like, when did y'all want me to get anything done?
Oh, that's cute. That's it? Dude,
Yeah.
I've had 10 meeting days before. I've had 10 meeting days before. As a matter of fact, I mean, in the line of work I do, it makes sense, right? Because a lot of people are like this. But there's days where I'm triple booked for the same slot.
Really?
Easily. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've been on one call on my phone and another call on my computer, just so that I can listen in case somebody says my name on one of the calls.
Yeah, but don't they? It's the same place. Don't they realize they're triple booking?
Well, no, because here's why. Again, because of my line of work, right? I, as a project manager who is doing an implementation, I have to have big meetings with the customer, right? So here's the crappiest part of my job. As an implementation manager, often I have to work with the customer. I have to work with what we call the steady state team, which is the people who are going to take this work over after day one starts.
Yeah.
Right. And I have to work with the person who's going to do the work on our behalf that we have sold to the customer. The problem is, so think about your job, right? Think about working internally. What's the biggest, I don't think you understand, the biggest luxury you have in working with only your internal group is that you can see their calendar. I can't see anybody's calendar, so I never know when people are available. Never, ever. So I'll be like, hey guys, there's this thing we really need to talk about it today, because if we don't talk about it today, we won't have about until tomorrow. And everybody be like, well, my only window is between 7 and 7:15 a.m. And that's the only time you can get 3 different groups of people on the phone at the same time. And that's why I end up triple booked, because 7 a.m. will be the time that I can only meet with this guy and the time I can only meet at this, right? So I have to get on a call and I have to send somebody. I'm like, hey, I have to beg somebody else, hey, join this call. And then IM me if they say my name or if you need me. And so I'm looking at my IM while I'm on another call with somebody.
Wait, you're sending a proxy to meetings?
I have to, dog. I can't. I don't think you understand. Like, I have to send like somebody from steady state who doesn't even really know what's going on into the meeting. And then when something happens, they'll be like, oh, okay, let me see if I can get Michael to join. They'll ping me like, all right, you're up. Then I'll be like, hey, everybody, I'll be right back into this meeting and go join. Like, I'm telling you. And so what you said about that is fantastic, because what I would say about this new era of working and this new era of being able to manage yourself, especially working from home, is I think one of the biggest benefits I see there are for people who have significant ailments. You know what I mean? Imagine like a physical ailment where you always have to keep your foot up. Imagine how difficult that would be in your cubicle. Or like a mental illness where like sometimes you just get really depressed. Imagine being able to just take a nap at 1, from like 1 to 2, you just took up, you got your stuff together, or you just went outside and jogged because that helps you, or you turn the music up real loud because that helps you, or you play video games, which is what I do, right? And you just zone out for a second. Somebody IMs you, you can IM them back. Somebody calls you, you can ignore, and you know, you can push a meeting or whatever. But as long as I get my work done, you know, I work so on my current project, there are literally 4 guys named Chris. And as long as I get the Chris's, their report on time.
Chris Evans, Chris Pines, Chris Hemsworth.
None of those Chris's. But the point is, as long as I get the Chris Cross, as long as I get the Chris's, as long as they get the report on time, they don't care. They don't care. Now, so the upside of that is you get this autonomy. Like, I can run an errand in the middle of the day. I can go do whatever. I can, from my phone, I can get on Teams, so I can say, oh, you need the document? Let me go on, you know, Microsoft Cloud from Teams to send you the document, send it over to you, make a last minute, edit in Excel online, and then send it back over to you, all from the grocery store. And that's great. The downside is somebody might just text you at 9, like, hey, I really need this real quick. And you kind of feel like you're always at work and always not at work at the same time, which I deal with okay. Like, it doesn't bother me so much because I can hop into emails. I would rather, if I get a crazy email at 9, I'd rather just fire off a response and have it be dealt with than come in the morning and have it just sitting in my inbox, right? Like, I'd rather just get it out of the way, because that means an easier day for me tomorrow. I do this every Sunday. I know I'm gonna let you talk this for a second. Every Sunday, I probably do more work Sunday night just so that my Monday is on Garfield level.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather do a report Sunday night and then coast through my Monday, bless you, and coast through my Monday than have a 10 meeting Monday. You know what I mean? I'd rather just be like, hey guys, I already did it, so I'm canceling this meeting. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Here's my thing. I would say this. If you know that I'm working at 9, you know that I'm on, and you could ask me for something. But here's my thing. I think if it's after 5 p.m., if I'm just getting work done, I don't want to talk to no coworkers unless we agree to something. Unless we say, hey man, I'm gonna be working on this. So if you need something, hit me up. But don't just email me. Because I used to have, like at Accenture, Paloma used to do that. It used to drive me nuts. Be out here sending Bama's emails at 10 o'clock at night. I'd be like, hey, listen, I know y'all Bama, and matter of fact, a lot of people at Accenture did that. Log on their computer and just start sending Bama's emails at 10 o'clock at night. And it used to irritate me because now that I'm working like for me, doing audio production for me, and I'm getting paid like all that, because I like that now, the idea of being up at 10 o'clock at night, working on anything for anyone other than myself seems crazy. And then 2, trying to collaborate at 10 o'clock at night with somebody else, or being like, ooh, let me see what Michael's doing. Michael, can you get this to me real quick? Like, I feel like I'm requiring him to do something when he might not be working at 10 o'clock at night. But the other thing is, I'm like, if these schedules are all expanding, then I think there has to be consideration. But the main thing I wanted to say to you was, oh snap, Mike Tanner just joined. Mike Tanner just joined.
Yo.
So just so everybody knows, we used to work with and for Mike Tanner at our first job together on Island S.
Tanner used to work for me. Isn't that crazy? So when Tanner started, Tanner worked for me. And then when I left and came back, I worked for Tanner. Yeah. That's why you never screw over your employees or your employers, because you never know.
Yeah,
you
no,
never
true.
know when you're going to see them again, dog.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
But look, so here's my thing. So this is my new firm belief. I believe that jobs think that they pay us to work. That businesses try to tell you they pay us to work for 8 hours a day. But I feel like corporations, if they're being honest, they really just pay you to be available to work for 8 hours a day. And I say that because if it was just work 8 hours, it makes sense. If I worked at a factory, you want 8 hours of my work. Uber, Starbucks, Target, any retail job, any service job, any of that stuff, that's
coverage, right? They're paying,
coverage,
They're paying you for productivity or coverage for that period.
In both of that time. But I feel like when in the corporate environment, it's like at work, you think, and this is where we got to the workplace hypocrisy, and we had that conversation in the me, you, and Mike had that conversation in the room where we were like, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, if I work from home, I'd probably, jump on PS4 for a little bit, then go back to work, whatever, go back and forth. And I remember he was like, Mike was like, hey man, I don't know about that. Like, you're supposed to be working so. But my thing is, like, we used to sit in that room, and sometimes let's say for a week, if we all went to work for a week on the support desk, how much time 40 hours in 1 week, how much of that 40 hours do you think we spent just talking to each other?
Probably a significant amount. As a matter of fact, Tanner will even attest to this. I spent most of my day watching Kitchen Nightmares. So as a matter of fact, I remember multiple times Tanner would be like, hey, important people might walk in, so maybe don't watch Kitchen Nightmares. Because he would try to say it like it's like, hey, I'm telling you to do this, but I'm not trying to sound like I'm telling you to do this. I'm trying to suggest it to you. But maybe you don't watch Kitchen Nightmares right now. But I'll be like, Tanner, there's literally 3 tickets. There's 3.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And I still to this day believe that. If you're you don't worry about how often I'm working. Pay me for the results. If what you're paying, if you are paying me to close 3 tickets, then when I close 3 tickets, I'm going home. That's it. Why do I still need to be? I've done it. I've completed my task. Right?
Yeah.
Why continue to heat me in your building? Why continue to, why leave the locks open? Why continue to pay for me to exist in your world if I've already done the job? And you better pay me for the entire amount of time, not just the 3 tickets worth.
Yeah. But
right?
No,
that's
skewed. We skewed because I saw Tanner's name, but we skewed because the whole point I'm trying to make is like, now you're right. In corporate America now, it's like, I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes there's going to be slow periods. There's going to be like times we have less work, all of that stuff, or times when it's not due for another 3 weeks, all that stuff. And then now what they're trying to do is they'll try to tell you, hey, yo, you got to be, they'll tell you when you're not working, you better be innovating. I'm like, innovating what? What?
No.
What? I don't have a bunch of innovations for y'all. Like, if I'm like, I don't have it. You know what I mean?
No,
So
so I see Charlotte in the chat, and I see what you're saying. I could never in a million years. So there's no way I could work a job where I have to account for everything I've done in 6-minute intervals because I had to kill everybody.
No,
Listen, I was on a project. I was in a project where, you know, one of the managers, because what had happened is the project had ended. The transition was supposed to be over, but it went so horribly that they had to keep us on just to keep fixing the stuff that never happened during the actual transition period.
Yeah.
So the manager of the project, like the steady state manager, the person who had the direct relationship with the customer, was getting so pissed off because obviously as a project manager, I'm not cheap. My bill rate's not cheap. I don't get paid.
That's right. Turn up.
But my
coins.
Bill rate isn't cheap.
Yeah. You don't cook or clean, but you got a ring.
Get my juice. So my bill rate isn't cheap, and so he's carrying these extended costs for me every hour that I work. And so one day he didn't say it to me, but he said it to one of the executives on the team. He said, "What is Michael doing?" And as soon as I heard that, I ended him and I said, "Listen, if you're concerned that I'm not being productive on your project, by all means, feel free to release me. I don't mind sitting on the bench." And he responded, "Oh, no. What I meant was I just wanted to make sure that you had enough work to do just in case, you know, you were looking to excel in other areas." Boy, if you don't, get those out.
Excel in my checks.
I do not do that. I don't do that. If you got time to lean, you got time to clean. I don't do none of that.
No, because I don't trust them.
If you listen, if I'm showing you that I'm productive, that's all you need to worry about. Your concern needs to be, how come Michael can get 8 hours worth of work done in 3 hours and everybody else it takes them 8 hours to do it? That should be your concern. You should be coming to me saying, "Michael, let's talk about your efficiencies. Let's talk about your workflow. Let's talk about how you get work done quicker than everybody else. Let's talk about your templates. Let's talk about your shortcuts." Right? Not, "Hey, I only saw you working for 3 hours, so obviously you've been chilling for 5 hours." Because I'd be like, "Yeah, obviously." That's what happens when you let a project manager make their own schedule. When I make a project schedule, that thing be padded. Think about a project like this. Imagine you had a week to make a bowl of cereal. Okay. That's how I build my project plans. And so they'll be like, on Monday, they'll be like, "Michael, where you are?" Well, we're currently in bowl acquisition mode right now. We're doing some looking around to make sure that we're getting the perfect bowl. I actually have a couple of meetings with a couple of bowl companies to see what they can offer. Meanwhile, I'm eating the cereal on mute. You know what I mean? Like I've got a timeline right now that says we're going to do training on August 26th. The training manual was written like a week ago. I didn't even write the training manual. I'm not even responsible for that. I asked the training guy, I said, "Hey, are you busy?" He said, "No." I said, "Do me a favor and write the training manual." That was it. You know what I mean? But the point is, you got to pay me from now until then. It don't have nothing to do with me, the fact that that's not actually what it takes to get it done. That's your responsibility to find those efficiencies. My responsibility is to do what you asked me to do. I don't know what to tell you. And if you think I'm going to work harder for free for no reason, you got the wrong guy.
The other part is, like, they lie to you about like working harder in the meritocracy and all that stuff, because like in several situations in corporate America, especially for Black people, but in corporate America, I've watched people at Accenture, and I've been one of those people that like works their fingers to the bone, like trying to innovate, trying to do all that stuff, and they still walk up to them, they'll be like, "You're not quite working at that level yet." I'm like,
well, you know what a big company's favorite clause is in your hiring documents is, "If anything you create here belongs to us." So why would I innovate anything just so you can fire me when things get tough, right? And now you have this whole new workflow and you don't even remember my name. I've been gone for 6 months. It's like, "Oh, I don't remember who made this template, but it's the only one I use now." It's me. It's mine. I will haunt that office like I died.
It's me.
I will haunt that office like I died in it. Don't.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know.
And that's why I never feel bad for a second. When I leave a company, I take all the best templates. I take all the best emails. I take all the every single thing. I erase your name off of it, put my name on it, and put it and save it to my Google Drive. So when I get to my next company and they're like, "Oh, wow, Michael, this is crazy. Where'd you get this PowerPoint template?" It's a little something I made up. You know what I'm saying? Whole time, if you look in the metadata, it says created by Mike Tanner, 2018.
But I can see Mike being at a different company and being like, "This slideshow, this template, who
did this? And it's like, it's you. You made it. You made it, sir.
It's you.
Yeah. I don't get it, man. I just in general, like I've just never. I think it was Accenture that really taught me that, like that the rat race wasn't for me, man. It's just I tried so hard, and it's just realizing, like being in there, just realizing in some cases you can't do enough to get where you like want to be. You know what I mean? Or even when you try to get, I mean, I think I finally got into a position where I was like, okay, I could do some stuff. I finally got to tier 3. It was right before I left. I got to tier 3. And they still, I don't know who was in charge, but they still hired an outside manager for a role that I easily could have done. And I was like, I remember I went to them, I was like, why did y'all hire out for this? Matter of fact, that happened to me twice, as a matter of fact, because it happened when I was on tier 2 too. I worked for a different manager after Will Skelly, whose name we don't need to mention. But no, okay. I said no, a different manager after Will Skelly. That person's name we don't need to mention.
I love Will.
Yeah, no, Will's dope. But that dude, I remember not only did he hold up my promotion because I was just about to get it, and then Will left. This dude says, he goes, what does Ronald need to do to earn his promotion? Even though I'd already earned it, I was ready to go. Then when I was sitting there for a while, he hires an outside person to be the new lead of tier 2, which irritated me because Tanner made that role. Like Tanner made that role exist, which I was like, yeah, that was amazing. And I'm like, and I looked at everything and done. I was like, I think I could do that. You know what I mean? Based on like the little stuff I was doing with the release, all that. I was like, I think I could do that. And I reached out. It was funny because the new manager was like, yo, let me know if any of you guys are interested in leadership or if you guys want to step up, any of that stuff. The 2 Wily veterans didn't want the role. So I was like, I'll take it. Even they were like, I don't understand why Ronald didn't get that. I don't understand why Ronald didn't get that. They hired this outsider who everybody hated.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I see that a lot. Have you ever noticed that? I see it a lot where if you go, and it's usually on help desks or support desks or like any kind of like support tiers, right? There's always these guys who are on the desk who don't want the management position, but also essentially just kind of do their own thing and nobody says anything about it.
Yes, correct.
And because at the job, so when I was a manager, when I was a help desk manager, we had a guy on a team. The guy on the team had to be like 107 years old. He had worked there for so long. This is so crazy. He had worked there for so long that I was the manager. He and I made the same amount of money because he kept getting promotions. I mean, he kept getting raises. His incremental raises, he'd worked there for so long that those 2% had added up to making as much money as I made as the manager.
Yeah, yeah.
Which means we couldn't hire another tech because he was taking up all of our budget. And he was just like, eventually I got him to listen to me, but he was just unmanageable. He would do his own thing. He would like be gone for hours, but he would like come back with like, you know, having like fixed a server outage. And I'm like, dude, that's not your job. I need you to answer the phone. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, I was in the server closet with the knob.
I don't do phones no more.
I'm like, dude, and every quarter we would have a conversation and I would say, hey, we're gonna do your evaluation. Just so you know, you are officially ineligible for any more raises because of how far past the budget you are. And he would get so pissed off. And I'm like, dude, graduate. What are you doing? Graduate. We can't hold you here. And the thing about it is he could have easily made more than he was making now if he would just go to the server team. Dude, just go to them. Just go. Just I'll you know, sponsor you, whatever. I'll talk to the server team guy. They've got an opening. You know what I mean? Just go. But he wouldn't, because he was the big dog in the big fish in the small pond. And so he essentially didn't have to listen to me. Now, we got into it quite a bit, but the point is he essentially didn't have to listen to me. But I wonder what makes people do that. Because
what does getting into it look like for you at work?
It's a lot of let me talk to you. It's a lot of let me talk to you for a second, and then quiet conversations in a hallway.
So check this out. wait.
But it's real casual though. It's real casual. It's like, hey everybody, how you doing? Did you guys see the sports team? Go sports. Hey Ed, can I talk to you for a second?
I love that. Wait, so let's do a quick role play. So I'm Ed. Yeah. I'm in the hallway, like, hey Mike, what's up? What's going on? I'm Ed.
So what's up, man? I sent you the email. You didn't respond to the email. I told you email is the #1 communication device. You didn't respond to the email. And then you told me that you're going home early. Like, what's up? What's going on?
Well, man, I mean, I've done quite a bit of work today. I was in the server room with the knock. Man, I've been crushing it. Like, you might not have an understanding of what it is I really do here because you're still pretty new, and I've been here for a while, and so I don't really like do a lot of what the other people do anymore. But the services that I provide, that I give to Sherry and Ron, and Chandler, like they understand the contributions I give to this team. So you might want to talk to them before you come to me with any of your requests or anything.
So pause for a second. That is 100% an argument that he made to me before. He said because so before I got there was no boss, right? The last boss got fired, and so for like a year they were reporting to directly to the director, right? And so he didn't really have time to manage them, honestly, and so he just kind of let them do their own thing. And so he would literally be like, oh, you just don't understand. You need to go talk to the director. He'll tell you. And so eventually so we can go back. And eventually I was just like, look, dude, you don't work for him. You work for me. Here's what I need you doing, because here's the scope of what we do here. So either you can start to do those things, or we can have a different conversation. That's how I would always frame it. I would always say a different conversation.
I love that work threat. That's
for.
such a work threat. Like, we can have a different conversation. Knew what that was code for.
So he didn't like, so I worked there for a year. He didn't like me for like the first 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
But the reason why everybody came around, going back to the leadership, the reason that everybody came around is because my #1 thing, I've said this in front of management, I've said it in front of my manager, his manager, her manager on top of them. My #1 priority is my team. Making sure that my team has all the tools they need, making sure that they are able to take the breaks they need and take the time off they need, and that they get paid on time, and that they are able to do whatever it is they need to do. You need a new chair, whatever you need to do, because if I can assure that they can do that, then they can take care of the customer. I don't care about the customer. They'll take care of the customer. It's fine, right? Yeah. I'll just make sure they don't say anything rude in a ticket, and they'll take care of the customer. But my #1 priority is my team. I don't care about the customer. The customer is 100% secondary to anything. And hold on. I saw the look on your face. I have said I don't care about the customer to my manager before.
Yeah,
no, it's true. Yeah, they care about him. My manager cares about him, and that's great. I don't. Like, yeah. I want you to stuff to get fixed. I think customer service is great and all that, but that's not my priority at all.
You're talking about as the manager, though. As the manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And once my team started to see that everything that I did for them was and because I would tell them all the time, I said, my goal is for you to do as little work as possible. That's my goal, because I can't give you a raise, but I can certainly make you get paid more for the little bit of work that you do, right? So my goal is for us to automate. My goal is for us to have templates. My goal is for me to minimize the amount of work that falls on this team that's not our responsibility. Like, these guys would go into the server rooms and they would be doing like software testing. And I'm like, dude, we have teams that do that. Why are we doing that? Oh, well, they sent us the ticket. Okay, we'll send it back because we don't do that. So send it back twice. Okay, we don't do that here. And those types of things is when everybody started to come around, and they be like, because everybody's okay. And I'll end this because now I'm just telling an anecdotal story. But everybody's biggest complaint with me at that service desk, and I'll admit it to anybody, is I'm not technical. I've worked in IT for 12 years, and I'm not technical. I'm just not.
Neither am I, and I would argue you don't need to be, but go ahead.
Well, and that's the thing. I would tell, but that was their biggest concern. Their biggest thing, because my boss, he was super technical. He used to be a server guy. He was in an infrastructure team. He shouldn't have been in the role he was in. He was the director of help desk. He shouldn't have been there. But in any case, so that's why they didn't like me at first, because they'd be like, Michael, what should we do on this technical? And I'd be like, I don't know, what did Google say? Because I don't know, fix it, whatever. But when they started to come around, when they started to see that everything that I was doing was to make their job easy. So I made them do tickets a completely different way. They hated that. I made them respond to emails a completely different way. They hated that. I made them interact with the customers completely different ways. They hated that. One guy would get emails, he would get phone calls and text messages directly from the CIO to go fix stuff. So I had to go upstairs and talk to the CIO and say, you're going to stop texting my technician directly. If you have a request, put it in a ticket. If it's urgent, CC me on the ticket after you've opened it. Those are your two options. And And then we got into it and he was very upset. But the point of it is I'm not here to make you happy. Well, I am, but by way of having a successful help desk. And the way I have a successful help desk is I minimize the noise, I shortcut everything as to the easiest as possible, and then we track against our progress. That's how we do it. So to me, I want a manager that's in that position at all times. Somebody who has my back first and foremost, and then also we make biscuits or whatever the company does, right? But so
agreed.
Anyway, I'll hop off of that horse, but it was an interesting conversation.
So we're right about 8:30, and we got a few people watching. Does anybody have an advice question? This is an advice question show. If you have some advice questions, please put them in the chat now. We will answer them. We'll chew the fat. Mike, we're about T-minus 1 week away from having an email address. So I have info@oitsbiground.com. I just need to get the one that gives me a couple more Gmail accounts so we can have it. We'll get logins. We'll be ready to go, as they say, ready to go. We'll be ready to go. But yeah, so if anyone has advice questions, now enter them into the chat. Who needs advice? Bring the questions. In the meantime, why don't I regale you with some of my old work nemesis stories?
Okay, go for it.
Would you like to hear the original work nemesis story?
Let's go for it.
Started with
absolutely.
So back when I worked at that company whose name I mentioned several times, we used to every Tuesday we would have a meeting in this room, and I would book the meeting room. We'd go in there, we'd have the meeting, and one day out of the blue, this guy burst into the room and he's like, "Hey, we have this room," and I was like, "Are you sure?" He was like, "Yeah, we have it," and I was like, "I don't think you do. We have it now. We have it." I was like, "Okay." So we get up and leave. I go back to my desk. I pull up the calendar. I look at it. I see that we have the room. I screenshot that and I send it to him. And I say, "Scott," and I'll say his name because he was trash.
Okay.
So I say, "Scott." We have this room. He doesn't respond to the email. Next week, we go in there again. Next week, I go there again. He does it again. He bursts into the room. "Hey, we have this room." I was like, "No, you don't." I checked it. And I sent you the email. It's right here. You don't have this room. So I don't know what you're going to do. After that, after that, that was probably the last time we actually needed that room for a meeting.
And you booked it every time.
After that, I booked it every Tuesday. And I told my team, and we would go and just sit in that room and just do work in that room just to keep him from doing it. He'd come by and be like, "What's going on?" And he'd be like all like upset, slamming the door when he leaves, all that stuff. After that was the first time I realized I had a work nemesis. There was been like several conversations, and that was like the main point because he never came back, never responded. One time he came in there, it's like, "We have this room." "No, you don't." Walks out, slams the door. I'm like, "Hey, bro, that's not gonna fly up in here." That was one thing that always got me about this particular job and this was pre-me too. There was a lot of men at this job who behaved very poorly, but none of them like caught heat for it. You know what I mean? It'd be like known that, "Hey, so-and-so's kind of a jerk." And I'm like, then why are we still working with so-and-so? Like, why are we doing it? The same guy later on, makes senior manager or something like that, is in a meeting with other managing directors, and he would be one of those guys that would be also sending emails on his phone while being in a meeting with you. And he was in this meeting, and the managing director was like, "Hey, yo," he's talking to him, and dude's like sitting there sending the email, and he goes, "Hey, it's really impressive that you could send an email, because when I'm sending an email on my phone, I'm not really paying attention to the person talking." And dude like finally puts down his phone and like puts it away. But that's like the kind of like terrible person this dude was. And I don't think people really knew this. That was like my last real interaction with him, was the meeting room thing. But I remember after that, it like kind of just turned me on him so bad, because every now and then we'd be like at a happy hour, like for the company or something, and he'd be like, "Oh, hey Ron, how's it going?" And I'd be like, "Hey, we don't talk."
Why are you?
What? Like, what are you
Why
doing?
are you saying words at me?
Why are you talking to me? Like, there'd be a couple people in the account like that, because I would also DJ. When I say DJ, pull up a Spotify playlist for the company meetings and all that stuff. And after that, people, oh, Ron, great playlist. I'm like, don't talk to me. You won't promote me. You got me out here playing music for you. You want me to play? You want me to play Bodak Yellow, but you can't even promote your boy? Like, nah, you good. So I don't know. That was this is nuts. Who got advice questions?
That's funny.
Ain't nobody got advice questions. Gabe, Amanda, I'm gonna start calling y'all by name. Marilyn, Charlotte, Amanda, Charlotte. Well, once we get this email address set up, we'll have tons of question a week.
Absolutely. We'll have so many questions.
Or we can go back old school and start doing that thing where you start pulling them off the web again.
I just like answering advice questions. I don't care where they come from.
I
I would prefer to answer real. I prefer to be helping real life people that I know. But
yeah. Well, I set up the
work nemesis.
How do you wait?
I've never had one.
No, well, she wants me to tell more stories.
Oh, she wants you to, okay. Well,
no, but the Fannie Mae work nemesis, he was trash though, man. That dude. There was one time I didn't figure this out until a year later. So if you see me, like, I'm a large guy, like I'm 5'9", but I'm a little more round than I would like. So I remember I come to my desk I'm standing at my desk one morning, and this dude comes in and bumps directly into me. And I turn around and look at him. He goes,
we have an advice question.
Oh, yeah, that's a better one. Okay. All right. How long is appropriate to be in a relationship before your significant other mentions you to his family? Mentions or introduces?
Yeah, mentions?
Like,
I would say if he really likes you, he's probably like casually mentioned you.
Yeah.
Right? He's at least been like, he's referenced you more than once to the same person, to the same people, even if it hasn't been, even if it isn't like my girlfriend, or you know what I mean? He's called you, he said more than one thing to his family about Sarah, right?
Yeah.
Right? He's casually been like, oh yeah, Sarah loves that movie. Or like, oh yeah, when I was out with Sarah last night, we saw a cute dog, right? So maybe he's not like claiming you to his family, but you've been mentioned. I'd say if he really likes you, but so
that's not what she's asking though.
I know. Let me get there. Okay. You know what? Never mind. Show's over. No. So how long? To be in a relationship. So I guess relationships means dating, like exclusive. How are we defining relationship?
I think she's saying dating is exclusive.
Okay, exclusive dating. I mean, if you're dating exclusively,
no, it says significant other. It says significant other.
So right away, I don't know. If I'm dating if somebody's my significant other, which means we are exclusive, then I would say right away. I would say you probably should have already at least mentioned. There should already have been a soft mention already, and now you're just confirming that this person is indeed your boyfriend/girlfriend.
Yeah.
Why is everybody yelling at me?
What's happening? Oh, Maryland. So my thing is, I think the alarming part about this is like for them to not mention you to the family, it just seems unusual. Unless they have a terrible relationship with their family. But I think the biggest thing about family and mentioning and intermingling in a relationship is that you cannot dictate when your partner should introduce you or mention you based on your own pace with your family. Because something I learned the hard way is that all family dynamics are different, and family dynamics are not. Some people don't even think in those terms. You know what I mean?
It's a good point. No, it's a good point. I wasn't even picturing my family when I was making that comment. I was
Yeah.
picturing like an all-American family.
Yeah.
In my family, it wouldn't make a difference. I probably would have told my mom by now, but like
Yeah.
when we say family, that's really it. Like my uncles don't care, my cousins don't care. Like, you know what I mean? They're like, I'd be like, hey guys, I met this amazing girl. They'd be like, oh, that's great. Or if I'm like, hey guys, I just ate a slice of pizza. Oh, that's also great. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But I think that's a good point. It's really about, and I think it's important not to get upset unless you understand the family dynamic of that person.
Yeah, no,
right?
that's
because
yes,
there may be a
yes.
legit reason why you didn't even bother to mention it. Right?
Yeah, but
I never seen this before. A friend of mine, like their parents are so negative.
yeah.
Just like, I don't know, oh, you're in a relationship with that boy? Oh, well, that won't last long. Like, what? Never mind, I'm never telling you anything here. Kill yourself.
Yeah.
Wait, don't, I'm sorry, we don't condone suicide. But I'm just saying, like, that's horrible.
Yeah. I think that it feels like there's okay, so we'll talk specific to Charlotte in 1 second, but it feels like there's the family dynamic thing is important because I think everyone sets their own barometer and says, if they were not important to me, I would not mention them to my family. And so they're like, well, I must not be important to them because they have not mentioned me to their family. And it's like, again, Bamas just don't understand family dynamics and how that's like your family and another person's family, or even how they feel and how you feel when they interact with them is like a totally different thing. Like, you don't know if they get like it's just hard to explain. Cause I'm like, I think about my relationship with my parents and I listen to what other people say about their parents. Like, yeah, man, I was hanging out. Yeah, man. I said, my mom, you're such a dumb bee. And I'm like, whoa, you said that to your mother? And I'm like,
that's pretty cool.
But we do that because we imagine saying that to our own mothers and being like, one, we can't because there's no scenario in which I could have said that and like lived but there's also no scenario in which I could fathom being able to say that or being in an environment where that would be okay to say. So I'm saying like what people don't take that and say, maybe this person doesn't live in an environment where this is as easy for them as it is for you, or that this is like a significant step as it is for them, as it is for you. And I think that's something I've always struggled with when it comes to like family dynamics. Cause like when it comes to like me and my family, I feel like the trickiest part has been introducing significant others that they don't already know. You know what I mean? Cause it feels very much like bringing somebody into a bubble. And I'm like, there's a bunch of stuff that you're just like, man, like there's a lot of exchange of information, all this stuff. And it's like, oh man, there's like 40 different conversations. Like even like sometimes even like thinking about it, you just get like anxiety just builds up. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
Praying mantis.
Absolutely. And some people's family is like the opposite, and it's the same reason you still don't want to do it, and it's because your family will latch on, right?
Yeah. Yes.
You introduce that person to your family, you can't ever break up. You got to marry them that day because they're gonna, right? They'll forever ask about them. They'll forever be sending them birthday presents and Christmas cards and all of that. So it's like, I really like this person, but let me really, really like them before I introduce them to dad, because dad, I'll never hear the end of it if I don't.
Yeah.
So I think unfortunately, this is the worst kind of advice people don't like to hear. But I think, unfortunately, you just have to tell your significant other how you feel about the situation. There is no right answer because it's so specific.
I don't know. I think also you could just open the line of communication and say, because my thing is, there's some cultures that in which it's like, you do not introduce a person to your family unless this is the person, unless you're saying, hello, here's my fiance. This is my fiance.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Now you meet the family. I feel like that's what I'm saying, but I think we make an assumption that everything short of that means like non-approval, which is why, because I'm looking at Marilyn and Charlotte's interaction, and I'm like, I would ask Charlotte, I would ask your boyfriend, say, hey, yo, is it important for you? Is it important for your family to know that I'm with you? Because if it were my family, this would be important to me. I think if you could make that clear to them that it would be important to your family, and because he might come back and be like, hey, listen, I just don't do that in my family. Last time this thing happened, blah, 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 so and so, but you met my homies.
You met all the people
Right.
that are important.
Right.
To me
Those are the people.
otherwise.
Those people are more important.
Yeah,
To me.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
like
That's
my
what I'm
family.
saying.
That's whose
Yeah, that's
approval
what
I
I'm saying.
care about here. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. That's my thing too. Is you just gotta be honest about how it makes you feel. Because the other side of it is, I don't know why I have my license in my hand. The other side of it is
is it your license to
just
kill?
because it's what I do, right? Just because I don't normally do that doesn't mean that in this instance, based on how my significant other feels, that I don't need to bend that rule, right?
Yes.
We don't need to. I don't get to say, hey, in Martian culture, my family's from Mars. In the Martian culture, you don't introduce your fiance unless y'all been together for 6 months. Well, it's been 4 months, and I want to meet your mom.
Yeah,
you guys got to decide, right? You know, nobody's, and that's. I think sometimes people get lost in that. Like, just because one side of you has like a cultural, rule or some sort of like, even like religious thing that has to happen, then that doesn't necessarily mean that trumps everything in every situation. And I think sometimes people who are not from those types of backgrounds naturally just see, because like, oh, well, it's his religion. I'll just, you can make two decisions. You can either decide, hey, that's not good enough. And if you want to be with me, I need you to make this concession. Or you can decide not to be with that person at all. I know that's not what we're talking about here, but I see that too often.
Yeah, but that's tough. The reason why that I hear what you're saying, but I feel like the only reason why that's tough is because now you're like, I don't like, I think there should always be some compromise. There should also always be some sort of integration, all that. But I feel like in a lot of cases, especially when it comes to things like religion and even, we don't even have to go as deep as religion, just say culture. When it comes like down to culture, I think people have this expectation that we should just go to the culture that makes one person. Because I feel like when it comes to like something like a cultural issue, I know a girl who her family, she does not talk to her mother or her two brothers. She doesn't talk to any of them at all. Like none of them. There's nobody else in her life. It's just her. It's her. She talks to her friends. Her cousins try to talk to her. She's like, I don't talk to them. Like, I don't mess with them. They stole money from me once. I don't mess with none of these people no more. She has like people that she just doesn't mess with. And I feel like if you were in a relationship with her and you were like, hey, yo, met my family, why can't I meet yours? That's important to me. It feels like at that point, there has to be some understanding of saying she has no relationship with her family. And I feel like that same understanding can go down to the other levels and say, again, if for me this is important and for you it is not, or for me, and especially if it's something that you can bend on, and I'm not saying bend on everything, but even when you, like you said, when it comes to religion, like if you had a relationship with somebody and you're super religious and they're not, I've even heard of a couple where one of them wanted to raise their kids one religion, the other one was like, well, I want to raise my kids with no religion, and I'm like, that. I don't know which one you like, because I'm like, it seems like if you're going to say, I'm like, it seems like if somebody has something that they're doing all the time and you're doing like a nothing all the time, because you know how we feel when we start talking about atheism in general. So we won't go down that rabbit hole.
Let me knock that Bible out your hand.
Yeah. And give you nothing in return. But no, but I'm saying, like, it seems like there should be some sort of saying like, well, which is not a bargaining system, but which of these is the stronger position? Not, and when I say that, emotionally stronger, like which one of these is going to hurt one of us more than the other. And I think a lot of times we just default to our own feelings.
And the funniest thing about it is imagine feeling so strongly about something only to find out that the reason that the thing can't happen, or that we don't do that thing, and the reason my family doesn't participate in that is something horrible, and you be like, oh, well, then it doesn't matter at all. Then you know what I mean? so that's why I'm saying, like, you got to keep that open, because you might find out, oh, the reason you can't meet my family is because they're all terrible people. And once I tell you why, you're like, oh, I never want to meet anyone like that. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
let me tuck them feelings back in. My bad, because I don't want no parts of none of that.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So yeah.
So we're right at 8:51. Does anybody else have an advice question? Charlotte, I hope we answered yours sufficiently. I think the answer is communicate. But if anybody else has an advice question, now's the time. We got Michael Jefferson here. Got your boy Big Ronald. We are in the building. We ready to go.
Hey,
you already know what it is. Hey, yo, kick a beat real quick. Show them what I work with. No, you're going to play a beat, aren't you? No, don't actually play a beat. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
I saw your eyes in the thing where you looked up at your screen. I'm like, oh, he's about to play a beat. All right, man. Plug your stuff.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for joining. Make sure you check out masspoetbeats.com for your audio listening pleasure. I got beats for rappers, singers, and people who just want to listen to some word-free tunes. Leases for those beats start at $19.99, but of course, if you just want to listen, you are more than welcome to do so at masspoetbeats.com. Also, be sure to check it out. Be sure to check it out, share it with your friends and family, and like, share, retweet, and all of that whenever you see any of my stuff anywhere. And please follow me on Instagram at Mass Potential.
Do you remember that song you used to listen on repeat about blocking someone on Instagram? I'll mention when we get offline.
Okay.
It's your boy Big Ron. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you want to see us continue to grow, like you guys notice, my camera here is not very good. I have latency issues, all of that can improve. Lights, backdrop, all of that. You can do that by joining the Patreon. Patreon is a service that allows me to continue to grow through generous contributions from y'all, while you guys get behind the scenes information, insider news. You get cheap tickets to events. You get all kinds of swag, all kinds of stuff you get just by becoming a Patreon. And you can easily join the Patreon by going to ohitsbigron.com and plus clicking on that blue Patreon button in the corner. Also on ohitsbigron.com, we have all kinds of information about production services, about audio services, about our podcasts that are on there. And you can just sit on there. If you want to send me a contact email, you got a question, comment, any of that stuff, you can go right in there, bloop, 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 and I'll be right there to answer. So ohitsbigron.com, bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay. And I'll be right there to answer. So ohitsbigron.com, just put it into the comments. Please check it out. Support us. We appreciate your help. This has been enjoyable to do every week. I think sometimes I feel a little tired, but I think right now, like it always feels good when we get people engaged, we're having these conversations. So I feel good so about this. Fun. Yeah.
It really is fun. And every day I'm like, it's a Monday, I got 700 meetings, and then I gotta go do this. Come on. Yeah. And then once we get into it, I'm like, I like doing this. Yeah, this is super cool. Yeah. So
it'll be more fun the more it grows and the more people share with your friends. Y'all bring a friend next week. Everybody bring a friend, please.
You know you got some friend that needs some advice. They just out here living style.
Yes.
And we give all kinds of advice. We give romantic advice. I love giving people like job advice and stuff like that. Advice for interpersonal relationships with your family, your friends, your dog. Don't ask me nothing about dogs though. I accidentally rolled over my dog with my rolling chair earlier today, and now he won't talk to me. But anything else?
Horticulture advice, cooking advice, we got you. Whatever you need.
Well, probably not those last two, but definitely other stuff. So
all right, man, hit the theme song. Let's do it.